Howdy folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am your host, The Mighty Bjorn, and today for you I'm kind of doing a tank review. Now this tank has been in the game for a while. A lot of you are probably saying that right now, but the reason I am doing a review of the XM1 Abrams tank, this is the GM version of the XM1 by the way, is because it recently got an HD model as well as an armor buff, and I'm going to show that here in a little bit during this video. Going to talk a bit, going to compare it to the production model, the Chrysler model M1 Abrams. This is the model that would be actually put into production as we all know now. Of course, they did not know that back in the late 1970s when they were running trials on these two vehicles. And I want to point out, if you look here on the turret, the periscope is at the top. I'm going to be talking a little bit about that later. But right now, let's talk about the armor mapping. Showing you the armor mapping here. What you have here is sabot ammunition loaded 105 millimeter sabot ammo. And as you can see, the weak spots is the lower glacis plate as well as the turret ring, unfortunately. Now, it is not the glaring weak spot that it used to be. However, it is still a weak spot. It's just going to be a lot harder to hit. But if you're doing things properly, you're shaking, you're shimmying, you're going hull down, moving around, moving your turret around, the whole 9 yards, that is actually not going to be a big deal. Now, I'm turning it to the side. As you can see here, it's all green. Turn to the rear. As you can see, once again, it's all green. Same with the opposite side. And there you go. There's an armor mapping of the production M1 Abrams. That's the Chrysler model. Now we're going to go back to the GM model here, and I'm going to show you the armor mapping. Going to have the same 105 millimeter sabot ammunition loaded. So it's the same penetration, and as you can see, it is a lot different. The turret ring is not a weak spot. The turret is completely proof. The upper glacis plate is completely proof. As you can see with the lower glacis plate, it's yellow and then it goes green. So it's not even 100% pen on the lower glacis. On the side here, as you can see, the side of the turret is red at the front, and then it kind of goes yellow as it goes towards the rear, the smooth sides of the turret. As you can see, the rear is completely green. So there is an armor mapping preview of the XM1 Abrams. Now let's look at the statistics here, and this is where things get really interesting. As you can see, they're firing both the same ammunition, and they have the exact identical penetration. However, the M1 Abrams has a slightly better reload as well. Of course, it has a better DPM. Now, it does say the hull armor is better for the production M1 Abrams. However, that doesn't really matter because what it comes down to is both tanks can be penned in the same locations, generally speaking. As you can see, there is a couple stats, especially mobility, where the GM model XM1 actually outshines the production model M1 Abrams. All right, let's take it out to the range here. And I'll just take it through some paces here, talk more about the tank. And this may give you a better idea of what to think. You know, once again, I'm just kind of doing a refresher because they've recently buffed this tank. It is available in the premium store itself for 3,250 gold, and that is the Fox model. That comes with a unique camo, and that has a higher camo than this version does. I can honestly just paint the tank. I do actually have a lot of different camos I can use. It is also available in game. You will get this version in game minus the decals. I did put some decals on it, and it's the same price for either version. In game, it's in the Sophie, I think it's Sophie Wolf line, and it is a tier 6 premium. So when it comes to tier 6 tanks, it makes better than average credits. However, that being said, this is not going to be a world-renowned moneymaker for you. It'll just make better than your average tier 6. That being said, your best moneymakers, you're still looking at your tier 8 premiums, your tier 9 and tier 10 premiums when it comes to money-making ability over a tier 6, obviously. Now, taking it through some paces here. The only thing I want to point out is one flaw in this design is the periscope. A moment ago, as you could see, in the bush. I was trying to shoot the T-80 and I could not actually spot it. I just fired a blind shot at it. And I think the reason that is because its primary vision device was actually covered by the bush. As you can see, the primary vision block is here on the side of the turret, which actually does raise some problems when you want to be in a turret down position. Also, it's a little bit off, more further off to the side of the gun than it is on the Chrysler model M1 Abrams. Now, I just used a term here you might not be familiar with, and that is turret down. We're all familiar with hull down. That's basically where you're just kind of creeping up over a hill or whatever, trench line, etc., and just exposing your turret and pointing your gun at the enemy and firing. It's where you're keeping your hull completely concealed and only exposing your turret. Now with a turret down position, this only works on vehicles that has periscopes on the roof of the vehicle. It also works if the commander may be sticking his head out of the turret looking over a hill. Now, technically there, I would actually be turret down. Basically what you have is the turret is not exposed. However, as I said, a tank commander may be sticking his head out of the turret with a pair of binoculars or a vision block in the case of a production M1 Abrams, where the vision block is on the roof, would be completely concealed. However, the tank could still see. This is when you're trying to do a concealed ambush position and you need to see the direction the enemy is coming from. Another time you would use a turret down position is actually when the gun is being loaded and you're just trying to stay concealed and not be shot at, but you're trying to track what is going on in the battlefield. So turret down position is actually a quite important position when it comes to tank warfare. There are a lot of reasons to go turret down. Alright, so I'm just going to drive around here a bit. I'm going to fire some shots on the move. I'm going to, slam on the brakes, fire a shot, stuff like that. Try and do some tight turns and things like that. And just try and take the tank through its paces, give you a feel of maybe how the tank drives. I realize that you're watching me over actually driving the vehicle. And that actually being said, it doesn't really feel any different drive-wise to me than the actual production M1 Abrams. So what I have to say is if you do like the Tier 6 M1 Abrams, especially because of how it drives, how it accelerates, how it feels, you're going to like this tank in that regard. That being said, the thing I like about this tank, even though its rate of fire is slower, the armor actually is better. And it's nice to see that the American tanks are finally getting the armor mapping that they really deserved in game for a long time now, which is going to make them more competitive than they used to be. Now that being said, if you don't like the idea of a slow firing gun, especially this is for an almost 7.5 second, 8-second reload, the alpha damage that comes out of this thing is really nothing incredible. It's nothing I'd write home to mom about, especially when the reload speed is almost 2 seconds slower than that of the production model M1 Abrams. Yeah, you're probably not going to like this as much, and you're not definitely going to get the kind of damage result games that you can actually get out of a regular M1 Abrams game, especially over time. That being said, though, this is still going to be a tough nut to crack. And I'm just going back over this dreadful thing again, and I don't know why. This thing just looks so dreadful and horrible to drive across in armored warfare, but in real life, tanks actually do drive across these kind of ridges and bumps. They're pretty much on almost every tank course, and what it's for is to see how the suspension handles rough road, to see how stable the tank is, make sure the torsion bars work correctly and things like that. Kind of also helps work crew comfort. Obviously, if you're driving across that and the crew's getting bounced around, dinged and hurt, well, then it's not so much fun. Let's get a little airborne there. We're going to go up this one. And it crosses terrain like a champ. So, I mean, the tank does what it's meant to do. But anyway, folks, I think generally I'm going to wrap it up there. Obviously, if you have any questions, go ahead, comments down below as always. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Like the video if you do enjoy it. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell when you get more, so you can see when more Armored Warfare videos go live for me. But anyway, folks, thank you again for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And you may now considering breaking your XM1 out of stores or even buying an XM1 now. Anyway, folks, thanks again and have yourself a wonderful week.